into the space that has already been created, the closest that we can see it as is the sun in the sky. And only imagine, though, that is just the external version. So the actual physical sun in the sky is only the external version of what I'm speaking of. Because how you get to it is you don't jump in a rocket and try to fly towards it, Icarus. You have to go at it from within. So inside, and that's why we point people back towards themselves, you repair the ship. This means MBS, mind, body, and soul. I need to balance this thing out. Where do I need to work out first? So I generally, personally, I have to take people through physical because filters are important. All your organs are functioning like filters. They are the planets. That's why when the gods, there's a plural behind that, said, let us make them in our image. They created humans out of bodies. Okay, I'm just going to give you the whole thing really briefly so you understand. Sure. To find the organs or the actual designs to the bodies, you'll find them inside of the shells in the ocean. The shells, and I can produce to you, and I will, especially on the first season of the first show of AstroQuest, show you all the images of the shells that are actually our organs in our body. But they're in some kind of incubation phase. So when you see those people out in Egypt, or actually what's on the walls of Egypt, well, actually that even got there just recently, but when you look into Angkor Wat, thank you, we'll get to something that is actually more authentic, you will see the process of taking the bodies and beginning to combine the bodies. That's when you get the animal head and the physical body. But where are the organs? The organs are inside. So where are these organs coming from? The organs are coming from the ocean. That's what the magic was then. The first building of that Cadman, the first body. Okay? But the organs and all of that came from the ocean. Now, those organs, which are also planets, they're on a specific spin or orbit, came from, in a sense, the essence of what we're calling the planets. So let me just rewind here. When the first body was created, this was, again, the archonic forms coming into an agreement to come into physicality. That physical body is then created with organs. These organs are later replicated continuously as there's the reproduction. There's a continuous replication of these organs. So now every human being has a heart, a liver, a spleen, etc. that corresponds to a planet, right? Right. So now they're inside of us then, and they're alive. The organ plays its tone, frequency, and that's what I was saying about that whole I like it a certain way. So this specific frequency of the heart is its specific frequency, right? And then the genitals, the bowels, etc. They all have their own frequencies. But so they are in the universe. They're united, in conflict, verse. Verse also coming from the term veer, which means to turn, to veer off. Okay, so also turn is to mean the oob or a corner, etc. So this is where you get the geometry from. So basically, you have these planets that are inside of you that are on these specific frequencies, but even those frequencies fluctuate one after another because the planets are at war with each other. When you drink something through the mouth, let's say some alcohol, that really the mind wants, it goes to war with the liver, which is also another planet, right? So then the liver then toxifies and fires back at the mind by, if you're completely toxic, you can't really even think clear. You see what I mean? So this is how the planets also show out in their religions, is that all the gods are at war with each other. We just, in the U.S., just one god is winning. But if you go to the Hindu tradition, you'll see the gods are always warring with each other. And then one of them, Indra, left. And that later on became known as Yahweh. You see what I mean? And he left and went and started a whole new group of people, right? Mm-hmm. But not really a new group of people. People leaving from the Indus Valley or Angkor Wat are the same people that are in Costa Rica, the same people that we're calling Indians, the same people that we're calling Native Americans, the same people that we're calling Costa. You go on, it's only by the hair. You cut the hair and you look at it under a microscope and you can tell the ether of the individual. So you can tell if a person is actually coming from the same genealogy for real, not the fake genealogy things that they're doing now. When you have to narrow it down to only 7 choices, or excuse me, really 9, which is what does it look like once it comes out the prism? Because once the clear light goes in the prism, right, then it comes out with 7 colors, right? That 7 colors is the division. That is the 7 planets. That's the 7 days of the week, etc. So that's how they run the exoteric system. But the esoteric system is 9, because black and white are also colors. And the ones that work the esoteric system use the symbol black and white. That's why that's the chief colors in Masonry. It is to control from the opposite sides of the spectrum, but still contained in the matrix. As the God says, I am God, but it's saying that inside of the universe. It's like, come on. So what you're dealing with here again is that inside of the prism or prison, if you understand, if a person went to Egypt, they were going to prison. If someone told you back in the day you were going to be going to Egypt, you were going there to prison because the beings that lived there were slave gods. Anytime one steps forth as king, it means that everyone else is less. That's why even in the Talmud, it shows you that when you're, I guess, speaking with, I don't know, Enki or Enlil, the good one, the bad one, who knows, he says, you don't take a king. And then people say, well, we want a king. So they took Saul. Saul is salt. Salt is Saturn. The covenant is by salt. Saturn is a cube. Incubation. Then Saturn confuses with languages. Okay, let us go down and confuse them. What does he use to confuse them? Languages. So bam, 70 languages come out. So this is the confusion of tongues. Now people are not speaking anymore what they understand that they're saying. This is Kabbalah. Kabbalah, basically, if you don't understand Kabbalah, if you don't understand the cable of your language, how the A connects to the Z, or basically the real meaning of every single language, then you're confused within the language because you're using a language to think. When you say, I need to go to the bathroom, you actually say that. But when the baby says, I need to go to the bathroom, it doesn't say that, but it goes to the bathroom. So what language is it using? The supreme language. What is the supreme language? It's something like an instinct. It moves fast. And so that's what I was saying about this whole matrix. The matrix got nothing but games. It'll count it up to Googleplexes. The languages will get more complex. They'll keep talking about how it's going to get better and better, but it's still moving in one direction, and that should be understood. We can slow it down. We can even freeze it. We can even rewind it. You see what I mean? Like, we need to understand the position of this for a real being that is awake in a human body. This stops when you want it to. Think about it. You're in complete control of your consciousness. At some point, you can choose to believe nothing and only be happy. And it will soar your body into a high frequency if you're really happy. The only problem is our definition of happiness and the experiences that we've had on this planet govern now. When we say we're happy, we don't even feel it because we don't even know what happy feels like, because the organ that actually corresponds to happy is already dead. And that's, again, all planets. That's why I say, well, why is Saturn the king of the planets? First of all, you had to read it from the alchemical standpoint. That's not what it says. What it says is all elements eventually become lead if they don't actually make it above the speed of light, which is monatomic. So what it's saying is that all of these organs in our body will eventually putrefy into this black ash. And that ash, when grinded down, will be the shape of a cube if you look at it under a microscope. It's very dense and it's non-responsive to light. So we are responsible for keeping ourselves consistently infused with the energy that is not like that. You see what I mean? So if we go into this, like I said, you got Saturn aliens running around everywhere. They're just basically non-optimistic people. They're dead inside. They're not really feeling anything. That's why we have to work through the physicality, because all their organs are dead. Now we have to rejuvenate the planet. We have to basically resurrect the God. And it makes perfect sense, though. I mean, if you, as a Gnostic, It would definitely make perfect sense, but you have to resurrect all of the organs, then they come back online. They actually play their original, once you get them to play their original frequency and they all come into harmony, you're back on Mount Harmon again. This is where you actually rewind time to the agreement that made you a fallen angel. At the Mount of Hermon, when the 33rd of the stars were there and then fell through an agreement. You see what I mean? That's why I said, Semyaza said, I don't think you guys are going to do this once you really figure out what this is going to be about. So I'm going to bind you to an oath. So he bound them by a oath on the Mount of Harmon, which is where we get our word harmony. That harmonic scale actually consists of 9 tones, no matter what anyone is saying. It's kind of proof of it within the color spectrum versus any of this digital knowledge that they keep shooting out.